Okay guys, we've been using the iPad Air 4 2020 for the last couple of weeks and we really want to share this experience with you really briefly. But hear me out first before you smash that dislike button, because we think you should reconsider buying the iPad Air 4 because quite frankly, there are better options out there for the same amount of money, and that's what we're gonna show you today. Okay guys, first one up is pricing, and you guys know 64 GB will cost you $599. It sounds like a sweet deal, but you have to bear in mind you will not get the pen included in the box. So what you pay here per gigabyte of storage is $9.40.
Ouch.
That is a lot of money plus tax, of course. If you, however, go for the 256 GB version, you pay $749. So you already have an additional increase in money. You get more for your money, of course, and then already $290 per gigabyte of storage, and that's a huge difference. However, and here's a big however I have, the 128 GB is not available. It's kind of that sweet spot option. And if you basically pay $749, you can also get the iPad Pro, because that is a much better value for $799. And I've seen deals now on Amazon that really go down in pricing. And then you kind of ask yourself, why would I buy the iPad Air if I can get the iPad Pro 11-inch for almost the same price? And many people are on a budget these days. Let's say you have $800 available. That means, okay, you're gonna buy yourself an iPad because you want to. So you're gonna look at several options, and that includes the iPad Air or the iPad Pro, maybe a different screen size, whatever it is, you see what you can get for your money. And that's where the iPad Pro comes in. If you pay the same amount of money, yes, you have less gigabyte in storage, but you have a better screen, a brighter screen, a better pen latency, and so much more. And that is something you really need to consider. So, and when we go on to the pen latency I just mentioned, right, the pen latency does make a difference to many people, and there's loads of discussion online, and the iPad Air is not bad, right? I'm using it and it is not bad. However, you can tell a difference between the iPad Air 2020 and the iPad Pro, and you can even tell a difference between the Tab S7 and the iPad Air being worse in terms of pen latency. So for you guys who do digital drawings and digital artists, that makes a huge difference. And while we're at this subject, you also have to consider that the iPad Air 4/2020 does not have a 120 Hz screen. And again, to many people that doesn't, this is not a big deal. But if you look at the iPad Pro, for example, it does have ProMotion 120 Hz. And then you go to the Tab S7, which is pretty much the same amount of money, or even less when you consider that the pen is included, and that has 120 Hz. And this leads me to the display of the iPad Air 4. And I'm not here to crush your dreams of your new iPad Air 4. I just want to be as transparent as possible. The display of the iPad Air 2020 is simply washed out, and it doesn't get as bright as it should be. I think in 2020, for the amount of money you are going to pay, it should have a better screen. And again, the iPad Pro has a much better screen, and we're going back for value for money. If you pay the same amount of money, it pretty much looks exactly the same. There is minute differences, but you get so much more for your money when you go for your iPad Pro 11-inch 2020 also. And when you go back to the Tab S7, which is also, a lot of people consider that the Tab S7 screen is more vibrant than the iPad Air. I was so surprised when we did our comparison video here, and it is really something you should consider. The iPad Air is a good device, but these things you need to know. So next one up is camera and microphone. I don't like the camera placement on the left-hand side already. Yes, you can turn it around, but when you have a keyboard, then it basically sticks to the left-hand side. And also, I don't think the camera is as good as it should be for 2020. And that leads me to the microphone and the speakers. Well, mainly the microphone, because when you do your calls, your video calls, your Zoom calls, or whatever your calling feature software is you're using, then the sound and the quality of the sound makes a huge difference these days as well. And we accepted that Apple is not good at putting good webcams in. We still stuck at 720p here, but the camera is not as good as it should be, especially with that pandemic going on. And Apple knows that we are all staying home and working from home and using these devices as communication devices. So Not happy about that. Microphone is really sub-level what it should be. Here I'm gonna just compare this again to other devices. This is the Tab S7, and you know what? You make your own judgment here.
This is how I look and sound on the iPad Air 2020. This is how I look and sound on the iPad Air 2020.
This is how I sound with USB-C headphones.
And this is how I sound on the regular AirPods. This is the microphone and the camera on the Tab S7.
And this is how it sounds with USB-C headphones on the Tab S7.
So what about the USB-C headphones? The iPad Air just doesn't like them, and we had the same issue with the iPad Pro, but it worked fine on the Tab S7. But what about the front camera here? I just wanted to give you that example also, what it looks like when you basically film outside and also take pictures.
This is the camera and the microphone on the iPad Air 2020. This is the camera and the microphone on the Tab S7.
Could you guys hear the difference in microphone quality? I certainly could hear the difference between the iPad Air and the Tab S7. But anyway, I want to also show you the speaker quality. The speakers are actually not bad on the iPad Air, and here you go.
And when you live in top shelf, you know you gotta set the bar high. Had the same dream since we was kids. Big trips, big cars, and even bigger cribs. Never thought that it would happen just the way it did. Fast forward that now, it's just the way we live. Let's go food and drinks. What makes you think that this life's made for a king?
Okay, so look, I'm not here to discredit Apple in any way, shape, or form. In fact, we were one of the first ones to get an iPad. I traveled on business at the time to the US when the first iPad ever came out, and I got one over there because they didn't come out over here in Germany for a long time. So I was that excited. I just don't think the iPad 4/2020 is a good deal. It's good value for money. When you can get the same, or for the same money, you can get an iPad Pro. You've seen it on Amazon earlier for $749. Yes, it has less gigabyte storage, but you get so many more better things with the iPad Pro 11-inch than with the iPad Air. And that is pretty much it. I really want to come across what's working, what isn't working here. And we're not sponsored by anybody, by any company, by nothing. All of this is our opinion, our money. We pay for all the devices. So before you hate and press the dislike button, just consider that when something goes well, we will also say that. So that's pretty much it for today, and thank you for watching, and I hope that this has helped your guidance, your shopping guidance a little bit. If not, you will be happy with the iPad Air as long as you don't look at the iPad Pro or Tab S7. Simply that. Thank you for watching. Jens here, and Tony, of course, from All Star Space. Peace out.